Good morning, everyone. This is Austin out here starting on an annual exterior detail. Just wanted to make a before video and kind of go over a couple of the things that we're going to be doing to this car. So first, the annual exterior detail comes with 14 steps: wash, dry, tire shine, spray wax. We do an engine degrease to get rid of all the leaves over there. Really get all of this cleaned out in here. Uh, a really nice detail under the engine. Then as far as the outside, we move on and do a sap removal process, which is actually this step right here. That removes all of the silicone and wax that's on the vehicle paint still. Even though we do degrease it, there is, spots that may not get all the way clean, so you want to sap removal and get them the rest of the way off. Uh, Once you do the sap removal and get off anything that's still stuck in the paint, the little tiny black dots that you see on your car from parking up under trees, that'll get that off. After you get that off, then we move on to a wax. The wax will protect the paint over the next year, so when the new stuff lands on it, it'll be easier to get off and hopefully won't damage the paint when it hits and lands on it or makes contact with it like a rock going down the road. After we do the cream wax, then we do the door jambs on the inside, a full wipe down, the windows. We shampoo the floor mats, and then we condition all the leather. This is pretty much what most of our details look like when they first come in the first time. You know, it's not trashed. It just needs a really great detail. All the door jambs up under here and everything. So also, on top of making a before video for this car, I wanted to take a few minutes of your time and kind of explain the difference in compound polish and wax. Because what happened with this car, and the reason it's here, is because if you see all these scratches up here, those scratches are actually from a Scotch-Brite pad, where they done the sap removal process with the Scotch-Brite pad instead of the chemical. This chemical is a chemical I learned about when I took paint and body. And what I always tell people, and the way I explain it to them, is you really want to do as little steps of these as you can to your car, because the more you do, basically the more damage you're doing. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, if you don't have to wet sand your car with the Brillo pad to get off the sap removal, and you can just wash it and put a wax on it, that's better than having to compound it, polish it, and wet sand it and put a Brillo pad on it. So coming back over here, what do I do? Which step first? There's so many. I go into the store and there's just too much stuff in there. There's so many different brands, so many different chemicals, and they all kind of say the same thing. So which one do I use and when do I use it? So like I said, with our annual exterior detail, we recommend just using this and then putting a wax on your car. This is getting last year's contaminants off. This is keeping a coat on it for next year's contaminants until we come back out next year and do that again and do that again. That's why it's called the annual exterior detail. And we do have smaller packages and discounts as well for getting your car cleaned in between that year too. But as far as understanding this, uh, after the car has been sanded like it has, I will wash it. I will start out with this to remove any of the contaminants that may still be in the paint, because I don't want them to come off while I'm spinning this pad on this machine in the compound, and then the contaminant come off, like say one of those little dots, and now that's actually being twisted up and swirled into the paint. That's not what you want to do. So I'm going to start out with this, and then I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom and work my way back up to from most aggressive to least aggressive, because this is really where I want to stop at on this wash. But we're going to have to come down here, because with the sand scratches that is in the clear coat, what we have to do is use this compound and actually take more clear coat off, so that clear coat will become level with the clear coat he sanded down, and that levelness of the paint will make it shiny again and actually fix it. But you have to remember that you are compounding cutting. So for removing scratches and swirls, you see right on the package, but it is cutting into the paint and the clear coat, so you can actually go all the way down to bare metal if you're not careful, or you could just remove part of the clear coat so much that it doesn't have any shine on it left and you need more clear coat. Okay, so after you tape up and you compound, to get the compound scratches out with, then you have to polish. So you move on to a polishing pad. Let me get it like this, a polishing pad, and this is a 3M brand, just like the compound. So you can get those compound scratches out with, because now that you've compounded down to where the sand scratches are, now you have to polish those to get down a little bit closer and just get them a little more fine, so you won't have large scratches in your paint. You'll have much smaller, finer scratches in your paint. And most of the time I put the wax on by hand using just a standard round pad, but since I am polishing, I'm actually going to put this wax on, because this is for final finish, applies even coat of wax. It says no swirl finish, but you can definitely swirl the paint right here at the end, just like you can swirl the paint with that step or that step if you don't have enough or too much or too little chemical on the pad. It's a very fine step. Okay, so down here, that's clay bar. Clay bar came out about 4 or 5 years ago, and unfortunately it's used incorrectly like 99% of the time. I've actually gone to people's houses and they said, oh, I went to the store and they said I was going to need clay bar to remove all this stuff from my paint. Well, no, you can just use this and not scratch your paint, because the reason I have it down there at the ground is because it is more in line with this step, the compound step. So after you do this step, after you clay bar it, then you have to polish it. And see, they don't know that at the part store when they tell you, because they're, most of the time, the person you're talking to behind the counter is just, he could be 18, 20 years old, and he hasn't done these steps. He hasn't taken paint and body. He may not have even taken anything mechanic wise necessarily, selling the parts, but they will definitely sell you this really, really quick, not knowing that you have to polish afterwards. Well, if you're polishing, you have to tape up, which is why I say look at the link at my www.myols.us/Jeep of that 22-hour detail, including taping up everything, because it just takes a really long time. Even this car will take probably about 12 hours total work by the time I get done with all of these steps. So don't buy clay bar. Like I said, I've even told people to take it back. Really what it's doing is it's supposed to give you an alternative way to get off. Oh, there we go. See that black sap tree dot? That's what they were sanding the car with. And see, you can pick the actual dot off with your, oh, I guess it fell, but you can pick the actual dot, but then it leaves this little mark up under it. Well, the sap removal process, once you pick off, you'd still have to pick the dot off with your fingernail, but then after that, then you can actually use the chemical to remove that black dot with, and that's what, or remove the dot up under the black dot with. And that's what you really want to use, is like a chemical. Using the clay bar, yes, you won't have to pick it off with your fingernail. It'll go along there and just pop it off on one swipe, and then when you come back and maybe do it 2 or 3 swipes by there, it'll get that other one off. But you have then scratched the clear coat all around that dot, because there's not a dot on the clear coat around the dot. So you're essentially you're sanding all of this area down, trying to just pop this one part off. Well, once you pop it off, guess what? You're done. You're not going to keep on grinding into it. So now you've literally unleveled the paint around the dot using the clear cut, using the clay bar. Whereas if you had just used the chemical and just wiped it off, and then threw the wax, put the wax on it like we do afterwards, that would still give you the same result without having to do this extra 5 or 6 hours of work. But I hope this helps. I hope you all have a great day and stay well, and I will be putting up more videos later on, so look out for those, and thanks for watching.